months. And and he basically asked if I could come over and give him a hand job. And at first, I wasn't very comfortable with it. This was like my first or second, first party, and I didn't, I didn't think that was my responsibility. But my recruiter told me that I needed to do it, so I agreed to. And then he, I began to. Sorry, this is a little difficult, but before I gave him a hand job, he kind of slapped my hand away and said,
And shout out to my man Vladstein. It's crazy how people focus on the tree branches and not see what's in the forest. I mean, I definitely agree with you on that one. But I'll say, shoot, we got to get ahead of him, Vlad. We do got to get ahead of him. And I always do say, let's not forget, guys, this Trump presidency or how the United States is ran is more than the Epstein list. But we got to remember that this can interfere with how this country is ran. But hey, I might as well show y'all this before the Dems try to. Because let's be real, they like to show y'all last second, and then they like to show you guys who just want to talk Trump. You know what? I'm going to do the same damn thing. But at least her story's more entertaining.
Then he, I began to. Sorry, this is a little difficult, but before I gave him a hand job, he kind of slapped my hand away and said, "You need to use a glove." And the recruiter ran over and handed me a glove and said, "No one touches Mr. Trump's penis without a glove." So I needed to use a glove. I gave him a hand job, and then immediately after, he had an orgasm, he left, and I didn't see him again
Without
at
a
that party.
glove.
Jeffrey Epstein is a billionaire friend of Donald Trump's that was responsible for throwing the sex parties. There was, I originally came to New York trying to be a model, and in my travels, I met a girl named Tiffany there who was very interested in me and said that, that's what she did, is that she helped girls, get what they wanted. And she could help me get into modeling, that she knew a lot of people that were higher ups, and that it would be no problem.
Okay.
And so that's why, but I would just basically have to come model at a couple of events and meet some people. There would be no sweat. So, of course I went, that sounded like no big deal. And she was recruiting the girls to come to these parties. And they all looked, most of them were, my age. There was, maybe a couple girls that were maybe 14 or 15, but it seemed to me like we were all very young. So
14 or 15.
Jeffrey Epstein knew that I was 13 years old. When he interviewed me,
13. Hold on.
he asked me to get
13. Hold on. So at 13, you was by yourself at a modeling agency with no parental supervision? Okay.
down to my bra and just my panties, and I thought that was weird. But modeling, maybe it was something about my figure. And he asked that I give him a massage. And then he asked me my age. He asked me, and I told him, told him that I was 13. I told him why I was there. And he basically said, "Well, you'll do. I'm sure that you'll fit pretty nicely here." And then he tried to basically slip himself inside of me, and I pushed him away, and I said, I'm because at that point in time, I still believed that there was models, and then there was the girls that did that. Like, I thought there was a separation. So, I told him that I wasn't interested in that, but he said that I would do. And as far as Donald Trump, he knew that I was 13, and I believe that Tiffany told him. He seemed to take a liking to me because I was I was so young, and I was also a virgin. So I don't know. It seemed like he wasn't really into having girls that were liked by the other guys. He kind of, the whole glove. He kind of liked things to be his first. If that for lack of a better term, but
Hmm.
he was the one who wanted to get to a girl before everyone else did.
All right, virgins
Donald Trump
only.
knew that I was 13 because the first night that I was there, Tiffany actually suggested that, she had a whole bunch of different wigs, and I expressed interest in them. I always told her that I would love to walk around with blue hair, and so I tried some on, and there was a blonde wig that she said that looked great on me. So I wore that wig, and Donald Trump had specifically asked about me because I remind him of his daughter, and she said, "Well, she's 13 as well." So he knew the first time that he saw me, but he took a liking to me because I look like his daughter. The reason I'm coming out now is when it happened originally, I just wanted to forget about the whole incident. And when I saw that he was
Hey, and shout out Misfit Supervisor. She says, "Cause I like the vibe of your show. LOL. Let's smoke." Hey, and you know what? Might as well. All right, guys. First thing that's really funny about this is 13 years old, out on your own, doing modeling. No parental supervision? Well, how the hell that go down? I mean, sweetheart, I know you're old, but you ain't that old. You weren't born in a time where that was just the normal thing for parents to let their kids do. What type of parents you had?
running for president, I felt it was my responsibility to come out and tell our country what kind of man this person is. I don't think that
And shout out to Hellbags. I would never support the Me Too era. Side eye all. I'm weak. Facts. Yeah, here's the thing. I'm not just gonna jump into believing her because she's a woman with a sad story, but I'm taking it into heavy consideration. I'll tell you that.
he should even be the dog catcher, let alone running the greatest country in the world. After I met Tiffany at the bus station, she took me to basically went to her house, her apartment, and got ready. I put on a blonde wig because it seemed fun to pretend to be someone different. But we went to the party that I was basically interviewing for, and Jeffrey Epstein was the one that was running the party. He had a quick meeting with everyone that was employed there, and then he had a private interview with me. The first time that I met Jeffrey Epstein, he did try to
At
force
13?
himself inside of me without getting the go ahead or anything. And then it was probably about the third or fourth party is when he basically
It's like, what? Like I said, 13 years old, alone to do modeling, and now you're at modeling orgies, modeling sex party orgies. Like, it's just the beginning of this. Sounds off already, but I'll let her continue.
force it was another massage, and it was basically like it wasn't sex, but there was penetration, and I told him that I didn't want that, but he kind of got a little irritated. So I don't know. There was something about him that I guess I kind of held him like I held a lot of resentment towards him. By that time that happened, I kind of already started catching on that maybe I wasn't there for modeling, and maybe I was just getting used for things, and I felt that kind of held him responsible. Um, I did receive money to go to these parties. After every party, I was paid by Mr. Epstein. There wasn't out of all the girls that were there with me, most of them were 13, 14. I think the oldest one might have been 16, just turned 16. And she'd been there for a while. It was Tiffany. He was he liked to watch other people have sex. I mean, it was must. And he's a germ, doesn't like germs, so he, rather than partaking, he just watches. So
I don't know if that was true, then Trump wouldn't be out here giving handshakes all over the place. But hey, like I said, considering. But shout out my man Daniel Castro. Lesson. Keep your kids' dad in their lives. I know, right? Because kids are less likely to be trafficked, molested, or even turn gay when they got their dad in their lives. I mean, thank God for dads.
Tiffany had informed him that I
Or two
was the
family household.
virgin, and
My,
so
my bad. Two-parent household. Two-parent household. So shout out to those.
I was basically, um, sorry, so it was Tiffany who introduced us. Second time that I saw Mr. Trump was same scenario. He was onlooking at an orgy, and Tiffany came over to me and said that Donald Trump had requested that I perform oral sex on him, and I'd never done something like that with anybody, so I was a little nervous. So I walked up to him, and he was sitting there very proud, like, and I just kind of moved in that direction, and he kind of slapped me away and said, "What are you doing? You need to put a condom on." Like I was some like dirty filth or something without a condom. Tiffany ran over and handed him a condom and apologized, profusely, and said that would never happen again. And she looked at me and scolded me basically like a child and said that, that's not how, Donald Trump always, anytime you touch his penis, it needs to have a condom on or a glove, and especially when it comes to
Yo, wow.
performing oral sex. So I
Wild.
apologized, and then I performed oral sex on him. And once he was done, he hopped up, and that's the last I saw of him at that party. It's like once he's done, he's out. So
And shout out Vladstein say also having a dad keeps frogs from turning gay. It's like shout out Vlad. I mean, shoot, there might be some truth to that.
sometimes some of the things that I noticed that were weird with him was sometimes before the parties he would come over, and him, Jeffrey Epstein and himself would kind of banter back and forth, and he was very Donald Trump was very racist. He said a lot of racist things. Like
All right,
there
let's
was a
hear
lot
it.
of comments towards Mr. Epstein about being Jewish, and called him a Jew bastard, so that he was cheap. And there was some words I didn't even understand. Something about his the shape of his penis being directly related to his mole. Or I mean, I'm not too familiar with the Jewish tradition, so. But I'm pretty sure that whatever he was saying wasn't very nice.
She's funny. I ain't gonna
Also
lie.
referred to
That is wild. She's like, I heard an argument between them. He was calling him a Jewish bastard. He had all these racist words for Mexicans, blacks. I'm pretty sure what's coming up next.
people of Hispanic or Hispanic name. They called them Spics.
Mm-hmm.
That was around the first time that the World Trade Center had gotten the bombed in the 90s. And he was talking about the towel heads and how we would just be better off if we didn't let him in, or basically got rid of every single one that was already here. And I felt it made me really uncomfortable, really
I
really
bet.
uncomfortable. He also loved to call black people niggers, and he Arabic people he called sand niggers.
Mm.
The only time that he tried to give me some money was our last encounter together.
I mean, that's probably one of the reasons why black people and Arabs kind of get along. I mean, hey, man, we're both N words in their eyes sometimes. Like, damn. With the hard R, though, with the hard R. Do I believe it? No. But did I know she was going to say it? Well, of course. Of course she was.
um, where he acted out a rape fantasy. It just I was forced to give that money back because
Hmm?
Jeffrey Epstein paid us after the party. So, but he just gave me the money. I don't even know why he gave it to me. Maybe to make me feel more cheap, but it was It was a pretty it was a rape fantasy to him, but I wasn't playing. So
Damn.
there was those two times, and then there was after the next thing that Tiffany approached me with was that he had.
And shout out Lastine says she did this interview just to say all those words. You know, trust me, it gets a little too political at the end to where I'm just like, you know what? I'm in a bit of disbelief now. It is like I said, why is it always just about Trump, 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 as if there wasn't other people in there? It's too much of a hard focus on trying to get Trump than actually focus on the actual people. That's why I don't believe that Trump's on the Epstein list. I think people are trying to scapegoat on Trump instead of not realizing the real people that were backing Epstein.
A fantasy where he walked in on his maids basically making out, and that it was some type of fantasy for him. So she asked, I mean, I was at that point, I was like, I don't want to be involved with anything that has to do with him. But she's like, you were just basically the other one. So there's nothing that you will have to do. Just don't, just he's requesting you to be involved. So I reluctantly, I mean, I felt like I didn't have a choice there, but um, it was basically he's walking in, his two maids. I was one of the maids. I was the white maid. And there was a Spanish girl, Maria, who was the Hispanic maid. And we were making out, and he walks in and he gets really angry and threatens to call immigration on Maria if she doesn't come over and make things right and give him a blowjob. So while she is over there giving him a blowjob, I am just trying to, I'm supposed to look scared, like, oh no, and cleaning up things and pretending like I'm trying to go back to my job as a maid. And then he's being so rude to Maria. I felt so bad for her, even though I guess it just didn't seem like a fantasy. It didn't seem like it's the weirdest fantasy as far as that. He was threatening to call immigration on her, so that she didn't know how to, she wasn't even near going down to give him, perform oral sex on him before he slapped her away and said, what are you doing? You need to put a condom on. And she's trying to, I'm so sorry. And he's like, you can't even understand what you're saying. It just, speak English, he called her derogatory comments. And then he's like, you know what? You don't know what you're doing. Have her come over and show you how it's done. Bruh. And so I said that I didn't, I had to go over there or else he was going to call immigration on Maria. I didn't know if it was true or not, but I felt that, he said that if I didn't show her how to perform oral sex on him, then he was going to call immigration on her and then get rid of us both. It was anything that was in relation to him getting off or being satisfied or happy had to do with him being in power, but extreme power. And it's very hard to even, it was always intimidating when he was like that. It was always, you didn't really know if it was true or, like if you refused to play along, would he really call immigration on Maria? Would he really get rid of us both? And I didn't even want to know what that meant. I always didn't.